This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today we're going to explain why it is imperative to read your own policy, and if you fail to do so, you do so at your own peril. And an insurance producer, an insurance agent or broker, is only required to place the insurance ordered. And failure to buy flood insurance, in this case, will find you with no coverage at all. Five Waters Properties appealed the trial court order granting defendants Mark Bone and the Bailey Insurance Agency summary disposition. In a case called Five Waters versus Mark C. Bone et al., the Court of Appeals of Michigan on February 22, 2024 resolved a dispute over insurance coverage, the basic facts of which were that the failure of an Edenville Dam in Michigan and subsequent failure of the Sanford Dam in May of 2020, which resulted in a devastating flood that caused substantial damage to homes and businesses in Midland County, Michigan. Five Waters was one of the businesses affected by the flooding. Matt Reinecke, on behalf of Five Waters, worked with defendant Mark Bone, an independent insurance agent employed by the Bailey Agency, to procure a commercial insurance policy for Five Waters. Bone testified that Matt Reinecke requested insurance for his business, and he did not recall the specific language of the request. In order to determine adequate coverage amounts, he visited Five Waters' facility and walked through it with Matt Reinecke. According to Matt Reinecke, he determined the value of the equipment and provided the information to Bone. The coverage limits were determined using replacement value. Like Bone, Matt Reinecke did not testify as to any specific language he used when requesting insurance for Five Waters. Following the on-site meeting, Bone procured a commercial insurance policy for Five Waters that had replacement coverage for Five Waters' equipment, determined by Matt Reinecke. Shortly after the policy was purchased in 2017, the Midland area experienced flooding. Bone sent a letter to the Reineckes advising them that in light of the recent flooding, it was important that we review your policy with you. The letter added that some customers had been unaware of their coverage for water backup and noted that it would be the perfect time to review to ensure that the appropriate amount of coverage existed. The Reineckes were advised to contact the defendants to schedule a review, and although Julie Reinecke was aware of the flooding, Matt Reinecke did not recall receiving the letter from the defendants in 2017. Ultimately, the Reineckes did not contact the defendants to review Five Waters' policy. Five Waters' commercial insurance policy was renewed in 2018, 2019, and 2020. Each year they received correspondence inviting them to schedule a review of Five Waters' policy with the defendants. They did not do so. Moreover, they did not fully read the policy procured by Five Waters by the Bailey Agency. And after the 2020 flooding, Matt Reinecke contacted Bone. It was at that time he learned from Bone that Five Waters did not have flood insurance. He stated he was completely shocked because he thought that the business was covered. He later read his policy, however, and it clearly provided that the damages caused by flooding, including flooding damage occurring as the result of a dam failure, was expressly excluded from the policy. Five Waters filed a claim with their insurance company, but because the damage caused by the flood was excluded from its coverage, the claim was denied. To establish a prima facie case of negligence, a plaintiff must prove four elements in Michigan. 1, a duty owed by the defendant to the plaintiff. 2, a breach of that duty. 3, causation. And 4, damage. Generally, an insurance agent owes a duty to procure insurance coverage requested by an insured. Further, an insurance agent does not generally owe a duty to advise an insured as to the adequacy of its insurance coverages. In this case, Five Waters contended that the no duty to advise rule applies only to captive insurance agents and not to independent insurance agents. The court, however, rejected that proposition in multiple unpublished opinions. The plaintiffs asked the Court of Appeal to eliminate the general no duty to advise rule and replace it with a rule that would impose a duty to advise in cases such as the Five Waters case, which, to be perfectly clear, would apparently be all cases concerning the purchase of insurance. The Court of Appeals declined to do so in light of the public policy established by the legislature's active role in this area and the previously noted compelling reasons that militate against the imposition of such a duty. Five Waters asserts that a duty to advise arose because Bone assumed an additional duty by either express agreement with or promise to Five Waters. In support, Five Waters points out that Bone performed an on-site inspection to assess the risk to Five Waters and that Bone had direct knowledge that the area had previously flooded. Five Waters argued that as a result, Matt Reinecke was left with the impression and confidence that his business was fully covered. Yet there is no record evidence suggesting that Bone expressly agreed to assume an additional duty to advise or that he expressly promised Five Waters that he assumed such an additional duty. The fact that Matt Reinecke had the impression that he was fully covered does not create a special relationship. Because there is no special relationship between the defendants and Five Waters, the Court of Appeal concluded that the defendants did not have a duty to advise Five Waters as to the adequacies of its coverage. In this case, Five Waters never requested flood insurance. And as indicated above, the defendants did not have a duty to advise Five Waters that its coverage might be inadequate as to the result of not obtaining flood insurance. Five Waters' expert testified that Bone's community involvement elevated his knowledge of the flooding issues in the area. He opined that as a result of that elevated knowledge, Bone probably had a higher standard of care than any other insurance agents. In sum, the trial court properly determined that no genuine issue of material fact precluded granting summary judgment for the defendants. The trial court correctly determined that the defendants did not owe Five Waters a duty to assess and ensure the adequacy of the business insurance coverage, and Five Waters failed to establish a special relationship that gave rise to a duty to do so. In my opinion, when insured suffer a loss that is not covered by the policy they purchased, they seem intent on suing the insurance producer who failed to force the insured to purchase a policy that would cover the loss different from the policy they purchased. They sue the insurance producer and find that the case law in almost every state only requires the producer to place the insurance required and requested by the insured, although the producer asked the plaintiff to review their coverages because of a potential flood risk. They did not until their property was damaged by a flood. Had they done so, they might have established a special relationship, but what they were doing by suing was too little and too late. This video was adapted from my blog, Zalma on Insurance, which is available free to anyone who clicks on the URL zalma.com/blog. You can subscribe to the blog and you'll be given advice of every blog posting, usually 5, sometimes 6 a week. You can also subscribe to the videos on YouTube and rumble.com. They're free. And if you do, I'd appreciate it if you click on the like button on YouTube and the thumbs up button on Rumble. And if you're interested in more detail about insurance, insurance claims, insurance fraud, and insurance law, please consider subscribing to my Substack publication for a very small fee. Thank you for your attention.